Hi, everybody. Welcome to Training Camp Live, presented by FedEx, taking a live look over the beautiful fields here at St. Vincent College. I'm Missy Matthews with Max Starks. The last day of practice for the Pittsburgh Steelers before their first preseason game. We had a chance to hear from Coach Tomlin just a little bit ago. We'll go through all of that. But what is the mindset? Some of these guys know they're not playing on Saturday, but there's a lot of guys who are going to have a huge opportunity when it comes to that first game.
This is the first audition. And I say that because this is the first audition for the entire NFL, not just the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's where you're getting your entry card. But the entire NFL is going to be watching and grading and evaluating the tape of individual performances. So this is your first opportunity to do that. So you got to make sure that you're ready, you know what the playbook is, and you play at 100% speed, and you don't leave anything left to chance. You go and you give it your best effort.
All right, carrying the pads today. They will have more so a walkthrough and a travel day tomorrow. So getting one more good practice in prior to that. But Coach Tomlin went through a laundry list of players who we will not see. Some names I don't think will surprise you. And one of those is Patrick Queen, who he said is not going to practice today. We want Peyton Wilson to be the green dot. We're going to let him work on some of that today. But let's just go through some of the names that we will not see in uniform, more bucket hat and long sleeve, as you said the other day. Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, Jalen Warren, Isaac Seumalo, Jalen Ramsey, JPJ, Darius Slay, TJ Watt, Deshaun Elliott, Patrick Queen, as I said, Cam Hayward, Nick Herbig, and on special teams, Chris Boswell. And then due to injury, we have Kelvin Austin, Alex Highsmith, Corey Trice, and Dante Kent. So that's a lot. And we did the math. Well, I used the calculator.
Yeah.
That's 19. 19 guys that we know will not get a chance, will not get the opportunity to play on Saturday, whether it's Coach Tomlin saying, nope, we need those young guys to play, or because of injuries and guys we haven't seen out here on the fields recently. He did say Derek Harmon, though, who missed some practice yesterday, he will have the chance. Sounds like he will be able to play Saturday, which I think a lot of people want to see him in game action.
No, you definitely want to see the first-round draft pick and what he can do. And that still leaves, if we're doing the math right now, so let's get the kids ready for school, right?
Yeah, it's around the corner.
Math here. 71 other people that can possibly play on this roster. Now, we did have an addition today, so I now have to take that number down to 70, but there's 71 available players, just 70 capable players, because that one new player has to be able to learn the playbook. You're not going to send them out there blind.
There's Aaron Rodgers and Ben Skoranek coming down the hill as they get ready for practice. I loved, quickly off topic since they are right here on the camera, but when Aaron Rodgers was talking yesterday about the open door policy he has, whether it's out on the practice fields, in the training room, in his dorm room here at St. Vincent and Rooney Hall, he wants people to come. He wants them to ask questions. He wants to make sure they're on the same page. He said Ben Skoranek, though, he's a violator. He doesn't even knock anymore. He just comes right in, welcomes himself, and is ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, at this point, I mean, you're now 2 weeks into the dorm life. I mean, for all of you that have ever been in dorms in your collegiate life, when has a dorm ever been really knock first? I mean,
yeah, it's not very private.
I mean, you get about 2 weeks into school. It's like, hey, man, I need your pot. You know, I got to use your pot, and there's no food in it. Don't worry, I'll clean it. I'll bring it back. Guys will borrow stuff. I mean, my teammates used to come in there because I had a PlayStation 1.
Ooh.
I'd leave for class and come back. My teammates are in my room playing on the PlayStation 1. And I'm like, dude.
Not even there.
You have a room. It's like, oh.
But you had a PlayStation.
Exactly. He's like, dude, you weren't using it, so why not? So, I mean, yeah, when you get to that point in camp, yeah, you just expect your buddies are going to walk in the room. I mean, I know I was a habitual line stepper. I would walk into guys' rooms just because if I wanted to sit and talk to them. And, I mean, in the offensive linemen, we really didn't have any, like, oh, privacy, I need my alone time, I need my zen moment.
You travel in a pack.
We are packs. So, we're a pack species. And so when we go out to stuff, it's one or all, And so, I think that's funny, with Ben Skoranek, say that because Skoranek struck back and said, no, I knock. But there's a difference between just a knock and wait or a knock and open the door.
Totally.
So. But, no, I think that's what the other special thing is. When you get here at camp, now you're getting that time at camp where I need to go hit somebody else. I need to really have a little anger management session, a therapy session. That's what I like to refer to as the season. Every week I get, you get a board meeting, but you also get a therapy session. So you get to take out all that anger.
It's a package deal.
Yeah, it is. So those guys need to be able to go out there, and I think this is a great test, to go out there and hit and start working on your craft in a live situation. We try and simulate it out here, but game speed is completely different than practice speed. And, we want to see how a guy responds, right? Especially for a lot of these young guys that have never stepped into an NFL stadium before in front of a crowd. How do they respond to the stress, anxiety of it all? And how do you, continue to make yourself known? You got to splash on this tape just as much as you splash on practice tape.
All right, you mentioned some additions to the roster, also some players waived. Let's take a listen to Coach Tomlin as he explained that today during his press conference.
Regarding the game and just in general, our mindset and plans for the weekend and kind of state of the union as we get into our first preseason game action. We've acquired a couple veteran players. We've suffered some attrition in this process like most people. Logan Woodside, we acquired at quarterback. He's no stranger to the NFL. He's had a past relationship with Arthur Smith. Given the circumstances with Will Howard, we thought that was appropriate. He'll be a quick study. We'll work hard over the next 48 hours, and he'll certainly will have game availability. Whether or not he plays remains to be seen, but that was the intention. We acquired Pete in the offensive line. He is a versatile veteran. Has played both guard and tackle. We've absorbed some attrition in those spaces, and so, a Grizzly veteran with multi-positional experience is an asset. And so we've got those two guys. You'll see those guys on the practice field today. They were at walkthrough this morning, and glad to have them aboard.
All right, so there we see the official roster move from the Steelers' Twitter account. Long snapper Tucker Addington and Nick Broker were both waived to make roster spots for those two guys. Makes complete sense. Coach Tomlin said today in terms of Will Howard, he's saying week to week, said certainly there's a chance he could play in preseason game 2 or 3, but we'll have to kind of wait and see. But you need another guy. He's familiar with Arthur Smith, played with him in Tennessee and Atlanta, as Coach Tomlin said. So makes sense to bring him in and maybe throw him into the fire on Saturday if needed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you only have so many arms to go around, and I'm sure going into this game, when you thought about it and penciled it in the marker, when you were going into this training camp, you said, okay, 3 quarterbacks are going to play. Obviously, number 8 is going to be on ice. I know he did talk about how, hey, whatever Coach Tomlin wants me to do, I will do. Maybe we see him two series or something, maybe in the Tampa Bay game. But for the most part, the other guys are going to get an opportunity. Mason Rudolph probably is your guy to start the game off, and then we'll see a good helping of Skylar Thompson. And then, of course, whatever happens at the end, you might see some Logan Woodside come in there. But I think, it was opportune to have that many guys available to play just because of quarterback position. You don't know how many plays you're going to get, and you don't want to wear your guys out. You want to give everybody an opportunity. And then I really love the Andres Pete addition. Saw him yesterday. He definitely looks like everything you expect an offensive tackle to look. The guy also played guard for many years in New Orleans. So good to have him in the fold. You're talking about trying to compete at that tackle position. And if anything, push the starters a little bit further. But Andres Pete, I'll be interested to see if he gets in so soon. That's a lot of knowledge to have to try and digest. And he, unlike Logan Woodside, has not been in Arthur Smith's system.
Right.
So this will be completely new verbiage and terminology for him.
But, hey, you get the call, you get on the plane, you drive here, whatever you need to do, as you said, to get some footage on tape in terms of real game experience. And there we see Jack Sawyer, somebody who, based on the names that I listed, is going to have a lot of playing time, I think.
Just a smidge. I think, but here, hey, welcome to the NFL, Rook. That's ultimately what it is. When you got a lot of veterans, you got a lot of guys who've already been there and done that. The guys who haven't, here's your chance to be there and do that.
Absolutely. We saw Aaron Rodgers down there talking to the great Mel Blount. Aaron has said, the amount of people that he meets here at Steelers training camp, you're in a secluded area, but it just feels like there are celebrities, alumni down on the field at all times. And Coach Tomlin explained why Aaron Rodgers and the laundry list of veterans that we went through earlier will not be playing in week 1 in Jacksonville.
I just make judgments based on what I'm looking at. I just feel comfortable with what I've seen from those guys through this portion of the process that makes me comfortable in saying that they won't play this week. Next week may be different. We really respect the days that are this process, and I try not to make plans with broad strokes, but really kind of in more smaller increments. And so the decision not to play some of those guys that I mentioned really was based on what I've seen from them in this environment to this point.
Would you expect Aaron to play in one of the preseason games?
I'm not looking ahead, to be quite honest with you. I'm just extremely comfortable with my decision not to play him this week.
Oh, little hug there. You love it. Welcome to the Steelers family. Not that that's surprising with Mr. Mel.
No, Mel's always around. And Mel's always willing to go talk to guys, which makes the Steelers a very unique place, right? When you have Hall of Famers just casually walking around.
Right.
And I'm sure he probably said, so when you retire 5 years from now, here's what your speech needs to sound like. No, I don't think he said that. But it's great that you can have that type of imagery right in front of you where you see a past great with a current great and the communication, the respect, and the availability, I think, because not a lot of places – have their legends walk around. How many Hall of Famers have we had up here already?
A lot.
And so it's like the coolness that you have that many available, but then B, that they're willing and they feel comfortable enough to want to come back, to be on the field, to go approach an active player. Like a lot of players, they're like, oh, I don't know, I can't go talk to that guy, and you kind of have to be a little more standoffish. Now, Mel's walking right in the middle of the field. Who's going to tell Mel Blount, sorry, Mel, you can't step here?
Nope. And that cowboy hat, always gives it away. It's usually him when you see that, but very smart when you're on the practice fields and the sun's beating down on you. I thought you were going to say that Mel was inviting Aaron to go to one of his 5 a.m. workouts that we saw all over social media still, just, a specimen of a football player.
Looks like, granted, we know he's older now. Obviously, the movement's there. But the physical stature looks like this guy can still play. And remember, this dude played defensive back.
Right.
And he was taller than Aaron Rodgers. Okay? Let's just put that in perspective. And Aaron's not short. So the fact that you had that type of guy walking around like a prototype. I know we talk about Joey Porter Jr. and we talk about Corey Trice, but that was the prototype.
That was an avatar.
Yeah,
the original.
That's what an avatar looks like. And so to see him, I can't wait to get down on the field after our show and go break, fellowship with Mel, because he's always awesome, to talk to. And, what he does with his foundation, it's just legendary, and he continues to still give back. And, yes, I've also been an MC at one of those roasts.
Yeah,
and
that can be good or bad.
You have to be on your swivel. You have to be on your swivel because it's coming from all directions. Even when you think a guy's not going to say something bad, and they do. So, but it's a fun time, and I think it's for a great cause. What Mel does with the youth and the ranch and everything is a really cool thing. And you know what else? The more you can do out here, the better it's going to be. And who better than our other radio broadcast partner running camera one right now that we're shooting on?
So if we get a little out of focus, just know that Rob's on that camera.
Yeah, exactly. That Rob has fallen asleep at the camera.
Rob was sleeping in his car yesterday, taking a little nap before practice. I did catch him.
Nothing wrong with that. Listen, you got to recharge
it.
the battery. You got to recharge the battery. Isn't that right, Rob?
But you did offer the couch in your pod, and he still went for the car.
He still, some people are creatures of habit.
He's a creature of habit.
And
that's for sure.
Like I said, nice confined space, smaller gentleman. So but for me, I need to spread out. Like if you offer me the pod, I'm laying on the floor in the middle of the pod. I want as much space as possible. Before
we talk a little bit more about the players we will see on Saturday, in terms of Aaron Rodgers, if it was your decision, do you play him at all in games 2 or 3?
I don't know. I might want to get him out there for a series or two just to move around, right? Just because this is a new offense. These are new teammates. And let's just go through some things where you can take some risks and it not count against you instead of waiting till week 1 is the first throw. I'd rather get a practice throw out there or two and then go from there and figure out. But I wouldn't put him out there no more than 2 series at the most. And I'd probably do it the second game over the third game.
I did when he spoke yesterday and was asked, he said, whatever Coach Tomlin wants me to do, I'm going to end up doing, but did say in terms of the joint practice that they will have next week with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that sometimes that can be a better environment in terms of doing that instead of in a game when you don't know who's playing and whatnot. Jacksonville announced today they're going to play a lot of their starters.
Yeah.
But the Steelers take a different approach. And I do think sometimes the teams talk and figure things out, but I also think that's the advantage of a joint practice because there's a reason why you're getting together before you play in a game.
Yeah, well, and also you don't see that team in the regular season, so
right.
Therefore you can share a little bit more, you can do a little bit more, and you also get to keep your quarterback safe. In a lot of those instances, because it's still a curated practice schedule. It's a
We like
curated
that.
list of things where now you can kind of predict it. Now, granted, you cannot predict whether they're going to fight or not because that just it's natural. You know, you get a bunch of boys in close quarters. Boys are going to be boys. You know, at first it's I'm not touching you. No, you are touching me. No, I'm not touching you. It's like finger in the face, and the next thing you know, it turns into a fight, as you know very well, Missy.
Yes, 2 boys.
Yeah. So I think that's where if you give a lot of reps to him there, then I don't think you need to put him in a game because he's getting to see, he's getting to test against another opponent and see how they react. You can kind of curb it, but I think it all depends on how that practice goes. And I would still just put him in front of the crowd one time. It's a home game. I want to put him in front of the crowd. Get everybody's palate wet, thinking about what can be. And once you see that first ooh and ah throw to DK Metcalf and everybody goes crazy in the stadium,
Bubble
then you
wrap.
say, boom, bubble wrap him. Go ice him. Put him in cryo. Put him in the Walt Disney chamber. I don't know, whatever you're going to call it. Put him in there, and let's wait till we get to the Jets on September 7th.
Our lunch talk that was about, it's the only home preseason game. Just let him come out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Experience that, as you said.
Do the offensive introduction.
Right.
Make it really wowsy and
Lots of offensive linemen.
yeah, exactly. You can call out the entire offensive line, call 12 of them. I don't care. But yeah, that would be a fun environment to kind of get that kind of warm up to the season just out of the way.
All right. Well, Coach Tomlin also spoke about what he wants to see from the players that are playing on Sunday, so let's take a listen to his expectations.
Well, I expect situational knowledge and behavior to be on display. We worked a lot in various forms of 2-minute, particularly this week. We've infused possession down ball in a big way over the last week and a half in terms of our team development, and so I'm really excited about seeing situational knowledge and appropriate situational behavior based on circumstance. And so, we've worked hard to simulate some of those things, but there's no substitute for in-stadium or in-game action as you transition from unit to unit and coordinate some of those exchanges, matching personnel and so forth. And so just coach and player engagement, how we communicate formally and informally on the sideline in an effort to get the appropriate people on the field and ready to play will be something that has our attention in this game.
And Max, I think sometimes you hear those things and they seem like the simple things that are easy, but that is something that has to be worked out. As you said, new teammates for guys who've never played in an NFL game, there's a protocol to follow. There's even the itinerary for a road game. What happens then? When does the first bus leave? Different things like that. That's all taken into account of why the preseason games do matter. And I know you spoke about that the other day.
Yeah, and I think that's what you got to get used to. What we call modus operandi, right? You want to figure out how do we go about business? How does this team particularly go about their business on a day? Because if you look at the itinerary, it might look different from another team. And I know I went through that in my own career when I went from Pittsburgh to San Diego to St. Louis. That itinerary looks very different. And now on this Steelers one, even for me as an old grizzled veteran, so to speak, an alumnus, I look at it. I don't know what move series is, but it's on the itinerary. I'm like, what do I do? Is that like bust a move type of move series, or is
You should go bust a move in that one day.
Yeah,
I would like to see that.
Yeah, I just go in there and just start doing like the centipede or something. That'd be awesome. But no, I think the move series is what is something that would be new. And like guys like, oh, okay, I can go do a stretch. When I get to the stadium after the flight, like that's something that wouldn't ordinarily be offered everywhere else. So you want to get used to that. Then when you get to the stadium, hey, where's our group line up on the bench, right? That type of decorum. Where do I need to be for the coach to easily access me? It might flip. Defense might be on one side. Offense might be on the other side at another place you went. Or, offensive line doesn't go all the way to the end. Maybe they're in the middle. And so you want to just get used to what those operations are. So that's why it's also the utility of the preseason is to kind of work out those decorum and formality things about what you go about. Now a coach like Liam Cohen on the other side, first-time head coach, he has a plethora of other things to worry about. But Mike Tomlin, 19 years in, does not have to think about those type of things. So it's more so the new guys catching up to what has already been established. Right. But for Liam, he still doesn't know which pocket is my flag going to be in. When do I call a timeout? Like he has a lot of other procedural things he has to worry about that Mike Tomlin has well nailed down.
You're absolutely right. You think about which equipment guy hands him the red flag, which one takes it at halftime. There is various things.
Who's the headset guy when I want to throw it down? Like, who takes the headset from me?
Phelps.
You got to know. See, Phelps for
Yep,
us.
shout out Phelps.
But who's the Jacksonville Phelps?
Right.
Right?
No clue.
Don't even know. I'm sure Liam doesn't either.
Yeah, he'll figure that out.
Yeah.
What bus did you ride when you were a player here with the Steelers?
Oh, I was bus one, if not the trainer's bus.
Okay.
I had to get there early. I wanted to get in. I wanted to get stretched. I wanted to not be rushed. I had a ritual and a routine. I put my pads a certain way, even though the equipment guys put them in there for you. I had to reset them myself. Mm-hmm. I used to tape my own pads. Now, of course, they have Velcro, and they just throw a cute little bib over it, and they're fine. But the old school way was, man, you got the double-sided sticky tape, and you're in there sticky and doing it. And Marvell Smith and I used to sit in the corner and do it because we get to the stadium so early, and we had it perfect. And then we hand it off to the guys to put our jerseys on. All those little kind of nuanced, ritualistic things are very important, and you want to make sure that you keep your habits up because, let's face it, whether it works or it doesn't, it sets me on the path of success. I mean, I had a playlist that when I listened to it, I had to be doing certain things in that process.
On certain songs.
It was almost like a timing and rhythm thing for me that if I knew if this song got here and I'm behind, I need to speed it up. And I need to get back on track for those things, or I just hit the pause button and then just wait until I get there.
It was like you had a dance routine choreographed. I love that for you.
Exactly. A big man get ready and get dressed, almost like a toddler routine, I would think. Like how do
like
I
the bedtime routine.
Yeah, exactly. The bedtime
bath,
routine.
story.
Did I brush my teeth, wash my face? Okay, Mommy, here's the 2 books I need to read, and I have a third just in case.
And I'm going to ask you a million questions because I don't want you to leave my room.
Exactly, because I don't want you to flip that light switch because I might still be kind of scared of the dark. It all happens.
In terms of offensive linemen, who are you looking most forward to seeing in the game on Saturday?
Well, I definitely want to – I hope that – I know there's a lot of starters that won't be playing, but I'm hoping that Broderick Jones comes in. Mm-hmm. I would really like to see an evaluation, especially since you hear that they're going to have the starters out there for Jacksonville's defense. So I'd love to see that matchup against Trayvon Walker and just see how he does in that moment. Now, granted, that's also another Georgia-on-Georgia type of situation there.
There's a lot of guys in the league from Georgia.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean,
I know that pains you.
They had some success. I mean, they had their moment. Anyways, we're not going to dwell on that. But no, I'd love to see him. I'd love to see Troy as well. And then also, I'm really excited about the second unit. I want to see how a guy like Stephen Jones does because I felt like he's kind of steadily made his progress and made his name known in camp, as well as Dylan Cook. So I'm picking a lot of tackles in there because I trust the interior guys. I trust Mason McCormick to be Mason McCormick. I trust Isaac Siamalo. I trust Zach Frazier. And I know Isaac's not even going to play, but I trust those guys in those situations. And then Ryan McCollum. I trust Ryan because I've seen them play in game time situations, but it's more about that exterior guys because, like you said, Dan Moore's no longer here. Broderick Jones switching to a new position. I want to see it live. I want to see it at full speed. Then for Troy very limited. He's on a rookie plus year right now. So how does he respond post-knee, and how's he trusted in-game with the speed of the NFL? Because I will say this, very good edge rushers for Jacksonville. Interior, not so much. They're still working on that. We talked to Frank Frangie earlier this week, Rob and I, and I'm going to say, he was like, my worry is the middle of that defense. And if you can't stop the run, this could be a very, very long day. It's going to be tough to get those pass rushers going. So I'm hoping we run the ball efficiently, but I do want to see some pass sets off the edge for both the first and second unit.
You mentioned Troy Fatanu, another guy kind of in the same shoes as Roman Wilson, and he's been straight practices a little quiet, maybe getting his footing going there at the beginning of training camp, but even Aaron Rodgers giving him props and saying it's more mental and it's more him messing with himself.
Getting out of his own head, I believe he said, right?
Yeah. So what have you seen from number 10 out here recently on the practice fields?
I've seen growth. I've seen a lot of growth from Roman. You see a maturity about the way he goes about his business. He's had some really good catches. Then he also had some really good misses, so I don't know what to say. I don't know how you judge that. But the willingness to compete and not worry about who's in front of you on the other side, I think, is a huge mental thing. When you talk about mental toughness, I was talking with Ramon earlier, and he was on our show, and he said, man, he's like, one of the most underrated attributes of athleticism is mental toughness. And I agree with him with that because how you go about your business from snap to snap, series to series, game to game matters. And if you're a guy that gets easily shook or you're a guy that gets worried or you start feeling the footsteps from competition behind you, those are things that are going to derail your own progress. And, I remember this quote I saw, and it said, make sure that you work towards your dreams or else you'll get hired to build dreams for others. So
Very fitting.
So that's where you think about it. I can only control me. And for him, he needs to continue to work on that. And I like what I've seen so far, but like you said, the potential versus what the reality is happens in stadiums. So that's why I'm going to be excited to see what he does in stadiums as a wide receiver, because that's job number one. We can worry about the special teams and the return capabilities later. Can he play wide receiver for me? That's what I want to see first and foremost, and that's what he's going to get an opportunity to do on Saturday.
All right, here's Coach Tomlin earlier talking about Roman Wilson and what he has seen so far and expects to see moving forward.
Mike, this is going to be Roman's first extended in-stadium action. What are you kind of looking to see from him with the first team?
I just expect to see similar things that I've seen out here. Continual get better in playmaking. He's highly conditioned. I expect that to show in his play. We're really focused on kind of his offensive contributions this week. Next week we're going to, infuse some more in special teams than we tentatively have planned this week, because we just think it's appropriate. He's a young guy. Sometimes you're thoughtful about what you ask them to master in this process in an effort to see the best of them in certain components of play. And so specifically for Roman, it's about offense this week. Next week we'll infuse some teams and continue on with his growth and development process.
All right. We also know Jalen Warren. Caleb Johnson, somebody we will get a chance to see as well. And I imagine you would love to see what he does on Saturday, given what you've seen here so far, Max.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for him to really display what he's been doing out here, right? Because he didn't get this opportunity a year ago. He was on the shelf after the first day of pads. And then, of course, came back in season. It was very limited. He got in. Did he really get on the moving train, or did he just grab the door handle and decide, I can't lift myself up? Whatever that is, now he's getting a full opportunity to really go out there and showcase really his skill set. And the reason why we drafted him in the second round a year ago. So I'm really excited about that opportunity for him. I think it's going to be great, and especially when you probably don't have a DK out there. Now he can kind of feature and work on himself and not have that kind of mental pressure about what it's going to be. Of course, Calvin Austin's still out as well. So he's going to be the featured number one guy. So he's going to be running with Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek, Brandon Johnson, and all these other guys. And he's going to be looked at as the lead dog. So can he handle that pressure of being the number one guy in a preseason game?
You mentioned DK Metcalf, and he had said on NFL Network, I believe last week, that the Steelers' defense is the best he's ever seen, just the way they go to work, what they do. We listed a number of the guys that aren't playing, but in terms of practice, you mentioned for Roman, for example, some great catches, some great misses. How do you calculate that, knowing what they're going against here before they go into a stadium and actually face another team?
I will say this, and this is something that we took pride in back when I played, and it's been a great barometer ever since, for a swath of those years. I mean, obviously you can point to a year or two where it didn't look as depth heavy as it is this year. It is easier to go play against another team than it is to play against your own team. And I think that's why I could say great misses, because I'm like, the plays he's missed, it was against Jalen Ramsey. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It was against Darius Slay. I'm like, can I really be objective here? Because I'm like, you're technically going against the best DB combination in the league. Guys who've been doing it for years, guys who've won Super Bowls. Like, I'm like, top 100 players. I'm like, I can't sit there and say it wasn't like they went against Joe Schmo, right? Another undrafted free agent rookie DB, right? You're going against some of the best DBs in the league in practice. And I can promise you, Jacksonville used to have a Jalen Ramsey. They don't anymore.
Drafted
right?
him.
They drafted him. He went there. He played. He's gone, right? Went to two other teams. Now he's here. Darius Slay, right? Played for Philly in multiple teams that were successful, and then also went to Detroit, drafted by Detroit originally. So you got that, and then you still got Brandon Eccles. So it's not like the backup is any easier. And then once you beat those guys, oh my God, I got to take on Deshaun Elliott, Juan Thornhill, Chuck Clark. So I think for Roman, that's why I can say great misses is a part of that, because you're not going to see that type of matchup. And if you're getting close against them, that's still a win. Now, granted, the other thing is go in stadiums and can make catches, when you're supposed to. But I think it's still a good barometer to say if he's holding his own against the class of the NFL on the defensive side of the ball, he should do well when he's presented with other teams in the NFL, because they're not as deep and they're not as staunch as this defense out here.
We were taking a look at the defensive line down there on the field. Another name that just kind of came into my head, Logan Lee, somebody who also I think, was doing all the right things last year. Unfortunately, his season was cut short, but that is somebody you want to see play on Saturday and see what he's doing in terms of the red shirt rookie year.
Exactly, and Logan is slotted in at the second team depth chart when we went over the depth chart a couple days ago. But I'm interested about that guy that's sitting behind him that has a number that's very familiar to me. Wrong color scheme, but still great number. And I know I could say that tongue-in-cheek because obviously that number was made famous.
Very large human.
Yeah. I mean, he's a large human, but 78 was made famous by Dwight Mad Dog White. So, I mean, technically it was a defensive number. I just made it really cool for offensive players to wear it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. And Alec, our cameraman's kind of giving me the little wishy-washy.
He's not vibing with what you're saying is – I think what that movement meant.
That's okay. He just needs to put on some glasses. He'll look like Liam Cohen in no time. If you want to be a Jaguar, just say it without saying it, Alec. That'd be easier.
We'll leave him in Jacksonville.
Yeah, exactly.
More room on the plane.
Yeah, he can go hang out with Jackson DeVille, right, the mascot. But I think, I think what's really going to be interesting is seeing him with 78 because they were teammates at Iowa. And when I've watched film these last couple of days, they work well on their twists and stunts because there's a history there. So I would love to see them just create havoc as a duo out there. But no, I'm really excited because, like you said, Logan didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
Only that happened was he got injured. And that was what kind of stunted his progress. But a very active dude. And when you see him with YA Black, it fits. And if I'm thinking about a second unit, and I want it to mesh and not feel like there's a drop off or feel like everybody has to wear the "Hello, my name is" name badge,
right?
And say, "Hey, okay, I'm playing with you. I'm your teammate. Remember me? Okay, I'm going to go here. You go here." It's like they have that kind of second sense, and that's why I can't wait to see. Just like Daniel Aquale, another guy that has been a been there, done that type of guy for New England. But how do you fit into this room? How do you become a Steeler and not a Patriot? And that's really the charge. Yeah, that's the charge for a lot of guys that come in that are free agent signings. How do I fit with this team? I know I fit with the last team, but how do I begin to kind of ingratiate or mix in with this squad to where we can think as one unit? And it's going to be really interesting. And like I said, I'm really excited about what Logan Lee presents. I'm really excited about what YA Black presents, Daniel Aquale, Isaiah Loudermilk. Let's see how he does with this unit. There's a lot of good things and a lot of good depth on this defensive line that you don't need your frontline starters playing.
And you don't want that guy right there in the bucket hat, Carl Dunbar, the D-line coach, yelling at you when you come off. When you sit down next to him on the bench looking at the surface, you want it to be a quiet voice.
Yeah, you want to have the fatherly tone because, Carl Dunbar also has that very deep, barely voice. Deep. And when he, when I'm not going to say he curses, but when he gets, let's say, irritated. Yeah, animated, irritated.
Both work.
Yeah, both work. It does get more grumbly. It does get like mean bear, during hibernation time. You don't wake the sleeping bear if you can help it.
I think in terms of the D-line, too, we've seen a lot of swats, batted down passes here at St. Vincent. That's something else I think, they talk about the splash. TJ spoke about it. All of the defensive guys wanting to create those turnovers, wanting to wreak havoc against opposing offenses. So I think for those young guys, those are some of the things we've seen, as you said, transition into the stadium when you're going against another team in different colors. Nameless gray faces, though.
Yeah,
don't forget.
Nameless gray faces.
But under the
Trevor
lights.
Lawrence.
Yes.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence, I saw he said he's the healthiest he feels like he's been in a while. So we'll see what happens.
We'll test that.
Yeah, we'll test that for him.
We'll test
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that as well. I mean, listen, my baloney has a first name, and let's face it, it could be Trevor. I'm just saying, it could be. You can choose what you want to do in that, but it will be good to go against first team talent if you're a second team guy that's trying to make a splash. So now you can see how you stack up against quote unquote the best that team has to offer in this league, and it gives you a really accurate kind of litmus test. How well will I do against Walker Little, right? That matters. And then they brought in some other guys, Robert Hainsey, another guy that came over for Jacksonville. How do I pair up against that guy? That guy has had a lot of success in this league, played in some great offenses. If I can whip him on a block, if I'm Derek Harmon or YA Black or Daniel Aquale, that's a good sign. Okay, check. I'm moving along right along on pace on the mile marker if I can go beat first round starting talent.
Coach Tomlin said he wasn't focused on what Travis Hunter was going to do, but I think knowing he's going to play both sides.
I love Coach Tomlin. I love Coach T. Love you. I get, boom, the pulse has to be here, right? I get that moment. We're all going to be watching what Travis Hunter's doing.
Absolutely.
Do you see how much a king's ransom that was given up for that draft pick? Yes.
That nobody leaked, by the way.
Nobody leaked it at all.
Crazy.
Which is crazy that happened. We thought we were going to be seeing him twice a year in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing on offense and defense. That has been confirmed. So, yes, I want to see what a guy that had 150 plays a game in college, that won a Heisman Trophy, that got given a king's ransom to go number 2. I want to watch this dude play. And you know what? If people get mad on the broadcast for me watching, so be it. Because I know we're all going to be watching when Travis, like, where's he lined up? Okay, he's lined up here. Okay. Is he in the offensive huddle? Oh, he's coming in. He's coming in the offensive huddle.
Right.
Let's see if he's going to make a catch. You want to see that. It's a spectacle. I get Coach Tomlin will be inundated in the game, but guess what? He doesn't have to go make adjustments on the bench, so his eyes are going to be always on the field.
Sure.
And he's going to be watching. He's going to be watching. I get it. You don't want to get overhyped about it. But, yeah, this is an exciting moment. To be able to see this guy, especially his first game as a Jacksonville Jaguar, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. As a kid, I called his game in college, and I couldn't help but stare at him, and I was on a national broadcast.
Right.
And I was like, well, Travis didn't make that catch. He's like, but and my heart was like, but someone else did make that catch, right? And I was like, yes, you know what? They did.
Yes.
They did, but it wasn't Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
And then next play, let's
Different
go.
number.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it was Javante Wester. I can't remember his first name.
Exactly.
But Wester.
Because you knew who you were there to watch.
Exactly. I was there to watch him, and I was there to watch Shador, and then I guess I had to watch Shiloh because he was like, the other child. So, yeah. But anyways, we'll get back on. We're here for the Steelers. We're here for the Steelers right there.
But it's a fair point.
But I'm still going to watch Travis
It's
Hunter
still
and
a
wonder.
fair point.
I might not talk about him as much, but just know my eyes are there.
All right, another player we're going to see a lot on Saturday probably is Brandon Johnson, and Mike Prisuta caught up with him yesterday following practice for our camp convo. Let's take a listen.
Welcome to Camp Convo, brought to you by the UPMC Health Plan. Our guest today, Brandon Johnson. Brandon, we are just talking about practice, but that was a pretty impressive 2-minute drill. How much do you take out of that in terms of getting done what you're trying to get done out here today?
Really, it's just an everyday grind, just trying to make sure we, fine-tune 2 minute. Like, so many games are won and lost in 2-minute drill, so we just come out here and try to just, put our best foot forward every time we get an opportunity to do it.
You had catches for 21 yards and 14 yards, give or take, on that drive for the winning field goal. One of them one-handed. Anybody tell you anything about that afterward?
Just a few nice catches and, things like that. Nothing too crazy.
You had a pretty good year your second year with the Broncos. Last year you were here for a sip of coffee. What happened between 23 and 24, and what's your outlook going into 25?
It's a business, man, and never take for granted, your opportunities to be out here on this field, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to just put my best foot forward, and I don't take any day out here for granted, and I'm just trying to put my best foot forward and be the best I can be for this team.
It's a crowded wide receiver room, but it's also one where there looks to be opportunity. How do you approach going from starting in 2-minute drills to making the team? What's going to get you over the line?
Just never getting too high, never getting too low, and just keeping my head down and working. That's all I know. That's all I know how to do. That's all I've ever done. So I'm gonna just keep doing that, and we'll add it up at the end and see what happens.
To me, at least, it looks like you've made at least one standout play every practice. Do you feel as if that's the case? And is that kind of in the back of your mind, hey, I should do something to get noticed?
Obviously, I try to come out here and do my best every day, but, I'm not necessarily counting standout plays. I'm just trying to just continue to stack good days on good days on good days.
Brandon, really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, back here on the practice fields, you can hear the DJ. Maybe you can hear the DJ. I can hear the DJ through our headset. Jack Sawyer obviously liking the DJ, and we were just mentioning a number 39 out there on the practice fields, not Minkah Fitzpatrick. That's Daryl Porter, who the Steelers, I believe it was yesterday or the day before acquired.
Day before, yeah.
You know how this goes. In terms of the depth chart, going back to Roman Wilson quickly, a lot of people made it, he saw where he was, and that's what motivated him. I think as somebody who's still technically a rookie, Coach Tomlin's not going to move you up far. You saw that pretty much with everybody but Derek Harmon.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's like, listen, you weren't a first-rounder. You've already been here a year, and I can't find any tangible stats. So Yeah, you got to earn your way. You got to climb that ladder. You know, like the game Chutes and Ladder we used to play as a kid. You know, you were looking for the ladder and hoping not, but you landed down the chute. So now you got to climb your way back up. And I think that's the way it should be. You know, nothing is given. Everything has to be earned. I mean, except for, like you said, Derek Harmon, where there was a noticeable void, right? Larry Ogunjobi is not re-signed, goes into free agency elsewhere. There's an open hole there. And the guys that are there are going to compete for it. But, you know, Isaiah Loudermilk hasn't really assumed that role either. So, Derek Harmon, you're a first-round draft pick. We waited and used those resources. We're going to give you first crack at it. But it's still not set in stone.
Right.
Once again,
it can change.
This depth chart is written on like the Etch-a-Sketch. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can just shake it and it'll disappear. So, you know, just because you see yourself at one place does not mean that's where you end up. There's always room to move around that board, and it comes with showing it in stadiums and out here in practice with that crazy C word, consistency.
It is funny, you know, during the preseason, sure, it can change because rosters are changing so much amongst all the teams. But during the regular season, I still look, even though most times it never changes, but occasionally you will pick up a Mike Tomlin, you know, swapping somebody or just doing something to send a little message. And it's always done very slyly, but it's a way to let people know, hey, I know the media is going to ask me about it. I know we're going to talk about it, because he sends his messages sometimes various ways to make sure that you hear it and you get it.
Yeah, finagling and subtle. You know, that he likes to finagle that roster a little bit and get people guessing about what's going to happen. But also he sends a subtle shot, and I'm sure in meetings it's already been discussed. So there was a loud shot that was in the meeting, and then there's a subtle shot out in public. So you have to just read through the tea leaves and try and figure out what it is that he's trying to get across. But sometimes lessons have to be learned in a variety of ways. We have a lot of different ways to learn in this world. And sometimes he feels if the verbal doesn't work, well, let's just take away the physical, which is playing time, and see how that works for you if you could understand a little bit better. That's the way you kind of have to be as a head coach, and that's what's made him so successful. He's known when to pull those punches and when to let them fly, and also when to push the button and when to just put the little top back over it and cover it so you don't have to hit the eject too soon. But that's the thing we're looking at. You see Andres Pete there, another new signing, 68. He seems to fit in. He's a walking tower as well. Yes. He fits in with that offensive line group. But yeah, it's going to be fun. And like I said, I can't wait to get to Jacksonville, to get into the stadium, play against the Jaguars, and really see what these guys have learned, because it's tough, like I said, to watch offense and defense and give a really clear evaluation, because both sides are really good. They're both very deep. But how you look against the competition, or quote-unquote the field, that's when it matters. So I'm really excited to see this second unit, the young guys and new guys here, insert themselves into this team concept.
And number 6, you see there, Logan Woodside, the new quarterback brought in as well. And, you know, the pecking order always goes Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, obviously getting a bump up without Will Howard. What have you seen from Skylar Thompson, a guy who's played in the NFL, has played in a playoff game, getting a very large opportunity, whereas before he wasn't getting that many snaps once Will Howard started getting more and more here in St. Vincent?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for Skylar. What I've seen from him, he's a tried, tested, and true veteran. I mean, the guy started plenty of games in the NFL, and he's had an opportunity to help his team win in very pressure-filled situations. Now is his opportunity to show the Steelers that, hey, I know you got this rookie, but listen, you know, if he can't go, I can. I can still sling it. I can still spin the rock, and I can be a very valuable asset for you in this team. Obviously, you know, Aaron Rodgers, boom, tier all by himself.
Right.
Mason has already proved himself within this team concept, this organization, so you're not going to jump him. But there is that ability to be the number 3 guy, right? The dress day quarterback, the guy on the sideline with the earpiece in season that's talking to the guys and telling them what they, you know, what the coach might not see, that he can relate it. There's a valuable opportunity there for him. And, you know, this is your chance to go ahead and see if you can leapfrog Will Howard, right? Your number's already 1 in front of him. Let's see if you could actually make that jump and let that number not only be the only sticking point.
Yeah, there you go. Math again. Here we go back to math. That's
exactly.
an easy. I can do that.
We love numbers. We love numbers here.
You know, it's bad when you refer to people by numbers. Sometimes I do that, like texting, you know, my mom, my dad, or my husband. They're like, what do you, and I'm like, well, 90s TJ, guys. I said, I interviewed 90 today. You know, like, get with the program.
Yeah.
That's kind of just how my mind works sometimes.
Well, and up here, they haven't earned the names on the back of the placards
true.
yet. I'm just saying. Like, if you remember, there's no numbers on the front of the on the helmet in preseason.
Right.
You earn those in season. So
There's
guess
a
what?
reason.
Until further notice, hey, 68, you're 68. What's your first and last name? 60, then 8. That's your first and last name.
No middle name.
Yeah, no middle name. Dash could be it if you feel froggy.
In terms of that second-year jump, Coach Tomlin talks about it all the time, what he wants to see from those players. We mentioned Peyton Wilson will be getting the green dot. We've talked about him a lot. 41, yeah, 41, sorry.
41's getting the green dot?
41's getting the green dot.
Because 6 is out.
Yes, because 6 is out.
We can actually call him Patrick Queen. I mean, he's already made plays for us. Yeah. I mean, technically Peyton, too.
He counts.
New guys.
But
How about
he's
this?
still-
We'll just make new guys the number guys.
I agree.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. Well, 41, Peyton Wilson, whatever you want to go with for him, we've seen just what he's been able to do with that jump to come into camp, being ready, how fast he has been, not that that's anything new. I am interested to see what it's like when he's the Patrick Queen of the defense and calling the shots and helping guys know where they're supposed to be, because I feel like he's verbally and physically taking that next jump.
And that's what you want to see in the year 2 guy. Can he assume the full power? Can he assume the full mantle of responsibility?
Some people don't like it.
No, some people don't. Some people enjoy being Batman. Enjoy being Robin. They don't like to be Batman. I mean, that's where, you find out the character of guys. And I would rather have a bunch of guys vying to be Batman than a bunch of guys saying, I'm okay with being Robin, And I think this is an opportunity for Peyton Wilson to really don the cowl and see how it goes with him leading it and being the quote-unquote quarterback of the defense in those moments. And they're another guy that we're going to be excited to see, number 55.
It's the hair still throws me off.
I know. It's like that kind of curly, almost like Clark Kentish type of like coof right at the front that kind of leans off to the right side. But Cole Holcomb, another guy that I'm really excited to see, essentially a year and a half off as he recovered from injury. So how does he respond to that role? Because I figure he's probably going to be first guy up. Him and Malik Harrison will probably be opposite Peyton Wilson for a majority of the snaps that Wilson's got the green dot. So it's going to be really fun to watch that.
I did see Cole said he cut his hair because his wife told him he's a dad now, and it's kind of a fresh start for him.
Yeah, but it's still pretty long, though.
It still is. It still throws me off, though.
Yeah,
especially when
it
you
is.
can't necessarily always see what number it is.
I mean, I feel like he just has to wear a headband just for our sake on game day.
Just so we know.
Just so we know, just because I know it's not in your face anymore, but it's more a mindset and a lifestyle choice.
A mullet is definitely long hair is a lifestyle choice for sure.
It is listen, business in the front, party in the back. Yeah, but he's all business right now because you see there's nothing flowing there.
No, there's not. Quickly, another year 2 jump. Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick. I know you love your O-line guys.
Yes.
Not just talking to them, watching them. What have you seen from them in terms of what they're able to do as they head into year 2?
I've decided I'm going to give them a nickname. I'm just calling them Step Brothers because they play off of each other, right? I mean, if Zach gets in a fight, Mason's not far behind. If Mason gets into a fight, Zach is right there. They don't really talk. They kind of look at each other and give like a squint in the eye, and then all of a sudden they've had like an entire 5-minute conversation in that time. But I love what they've started to create a bond, and that's the trust that you need, right? Because there's going to be moments when you get into games and for this game, head's going to be between the legs depending on how loud it is, and Mason has to be able to tap, and Mason's going to be in charge of letting Zach know, hey, what's going on here, and what am I raising my head to? What type of H have I gotten myself into, or S? You can pick any of those 4-letter words. As like, and you want to trust that somebody has your back, and that's what I feel like you see is developed between them is a bond at the position group, and being right there, you can trust when he plays telephone that it's going to be the exact same message that he received, and that they can be disseminated equally. So I love the combination. I love the growth that they're having. Now let's see them take that next jump in year 2 to become an even stouter interior offensive line.
They also travel in a pack.
They do.
At least just the 2 of them at all times.
Yeah, I mean,
but usually more.
I mean, they're more of a 2-pack, but I can't wait for the 5-pack to get all in on the same page. But they've also had a jump in experience above the rest of the guys. Minus Isaac Siamala, obviously.
Sure.
Isaac, that's the grandpapa. He's the end-all, be-all, unequivocal leader.
He's the pack leader.
Yes.
He's the alpha.
He is the alpha. But for Troy and for Broderick to kind of come up in that same grooming where Troy is in that same class with them, right? But Broderick is a year ahead, so he needs to work his way into that group and them becoming solidified. Because listen, when it comes September 7th and it gets real, I need to be able to look to my right or my left and say, all right, we got this. We're good. I trust him. Whatever he calls, I'm running it. If we're going to be all right or all wrong, we're all going to do it together. And that's what matters.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say MetLife might be just a little loud when the Steelers offense takes the
Just
field.
a smidge.
Just
a smidge. Yeah, not because Aaron Rodgers will be the quarterback and he was their quarterback and they didn't win when he was there. And if, God forbid, we get a victory in MetLife while he's wearing a Steelers jersey.
I'm here for it.
The pandemonium that will ensue, and I can't wait for it. I'll just make sure that, I'll ID you to make sure there's no, stampedes or anything missing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'll make sure you're safe. If I have to run down and jump from the skybox, I will. But, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch that process. But it starts here. It starts with the first preseason game and progresses through the practices to getting to September 7th. All 5 of those guys need to be on the same page.
All right, flipping to special teams. Coach Tomlin today was talking about the punting situation, the competition, I should say. Let's take a listen to how he plans to exhibit that in game number 1 of the preseason.
We intend on using both punters, and we'll trade punt for punt, and we're probably going to be in that posture until we get clarity or throughout the preseason. It's highly competitive. They're both varsity, but that's the type of competition that you want. You want guys to win jobs because of what they do, not because of what others don't do. And so far, we've been really impressed by both guys. And out here, the things that we've seen in team development, we'll continue to watch them as we get into stadiums.
All right, punters, we got to give them some love too. Coach Tomlin obviously asked about it. And it has been one of those situations, Max, where it's not like you can say, oh, yeah, no, he's got ahead of him there. They have really gone, neck and neck, and that's what they want to see once again in a stadium. Not that both of these guys haven't been with the Steelers. Obviously, Corliss has more games on his resume with the Steelers. But Cam Johnston, that guy that they really wanted in free agency, and unfortunately for him, that injury happened week 1 in Atlanta.
Yeah, it did. And like you said, Corliss did admirably coming in, week 2 and having to kind of go in it knowing you weren't the number 1 pick, you weren't the top guy. You lost the battle before, but now having a big opportunity to come in here and both those guys equally see who is the more efficient punter, who's the better holder, and who can get the job done more consistently than the other. So this is a true head-to-head battle. When we saw the depth chart, they were listed right there together. There wasn't a first or a second team. They were both listed, slotted as the first guys. Yeah, so this is a full-on camp battle at the punter position.
And Chris Boswell, as we said earlier, will not be playing. So Ben Sauls, he will get his chance to put some film on a resume for the other teams. I think it's safe to say Chris Boswell is going to make the 53.
Listen, the man went in cold and did a punt when Cam Johnston went out and
That's
boomed
right.
it 40 yards. I think the guy knows special teams. If we were talking about a lock on this roster,
Put your money on 9.
I'm putting my money on 9, and then, of course, I'll put it also on Christian Coombs, number 45.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Coombs, because they got rid of the other long snapper because they're like, we don't need this competition.
Yeah. Well,
Coombs, just be ready to go whenever we need. Look at that. Ever ready. Just as we say it, he's already snapping the ball.
that could not have been timed more perfectly.
That was perfect. That was perfect.
But I do think, as you mentioned with Boz, being able to do crazy things in games, he always has that calm serial killer look, as Cam Hayward calls it, where he is just locked in. And when you think you're hearing noise and the fans screaming, it's as if he is in a stadium by himself.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He has ice water running through his veins, right, as we used to say. Like, there's nothing that will bother or deter him. Even in a spirited conversation, he's still giving you poker face.
Right.
The entire time. Hey, Boz, you happy? Yep. Boz, you mad? Yep. It's like,
Give me a smile.
can I
can't.
a grin, a smirk, something? Like, let me know that you're actually not annoyed by me talking.
I do appreciate, though, on the sidelines, Boz doesn't like network cables, but he's cool with Steelers media production people and Steelers audio network. So he will kindly move me when I'm in the way because sometimes I can't hear and don't
because we've got
realize
headsets on and
what's
it's
happening.
also 70+ thousand people in the
Right.
stadium while you're talking. But yeah, he gives a gentle. He'll put arms on both sides and gently move you. when it's national meet or
Ooh.
something, the cable goes flying. He starts doing all of this. Hey, out of the way, or he'll or like if you're standing there, he's like, well, I'm kicking this.
Yep.
And I'm not going to give you any warning.
And I'm not moving the net.
Yeah, and people that walk behind that net while he's kicking, he's not going to stop and wait for them to pass.
No.
You might catch the secondary net ball action right in the face, which one time I actually caught in the back of the head because I was not paying attention. Early on, I learned to keep my head on a swivel after that first game. The Hall of Fame game back when I first joined the broadcast team.
Oh, wow. That's a throwback.
I caught that one, 2021.
Yeah, wow.
So, yeah, I've learned my lesson since then. And Boz is always awesome. You know, we can have conversations in between plays about what situations is he going in to be prepared for that. So, yeah, love the Wizard of Boz.
Then he just picks up his helmet, runs, and boots the ball.
And scores points.
Yeah.
He scores points or he makes people kick the ball deep.
All right, Max, thanks so much. Last practice here at St. Vincent about to get underway with some competition periods. Thanks so much for joining us here today on Training Camp Live presented by FedEx. First game on Saturday in Jacksonville. We'll have complete coverage for you on Steelers.com and the Steelers official mobile app. We will have Training Camp Live returning on Monday when the Steelers are back here for an open practice at St. Vincent College. Thanks for joining us today and have a great night, everybody.